Caitlin Clark could be returning this week after all. Guys, for this one here.
Okay, get ready because it looks like Caitlin Clark might actually be returning to the court this week. Guys, we got breaking news straight out of Indiana. And trust me, the Fever just made a roster move that has the entire WNBA buzzing right now.
It's going to be scary from a backcourt standpoint because the two of them with the ball in their hands, without the ball.
That's a threat.
And as a post player, your eyes have to light up because if there's that much attention from the backcourt,
they're going to find you.
If you set screens,
yep.
If you set early drags in transition, sky's the limit.
And just like that, Caitlin Clark's name is back in the spotlight. Like fans are absolutely losing their minds wondering what this means. Could we finally see her back on the court? I'm going to break down everything you need to know. But first, what do you think? Does this move mean Clark's comeback is officially on?
2025, according to the WNBA transactions page, the Indiana Fever released Kyra Lambert. So if that is indeed the end of Kyra Lambert's Indiana Fever tenure, it did not last very long. It was just last week we were figuring out who Kyra Lambert was and what her...
So here's the kicker. The Indiana Fever officially released Kyra Lambert. Now, for most casual fans, that's just a tiny transaction buried deep in the sports section, right? But for Fever diehards, and honestly for the entire WNBA, this feels like a massive bombshell. You just don't cut a player mid-season unless you're gearing up for a huge rotor shakeup. And the one name at the very center of the storm, you guessed it, Caitlin Clark.
It's Kyra Maxwell, and she didn't even get a thank you post. She didn't even get a thank you post from the Indiana Fever. They didn't even get a thank you, Kyra Maxwell. She didn't get a thank you post. But a lot of people are celebrating this because they think...
Let's not sugarcoat it. Clark hasn't been on the court lately. And honestly, every game she's missed has left us all on edge. She didn't even travel with the team last week, which only cranked up the speculation even more. So, the big question is, are the Fever just being super cautious? Or is this all part of a master plan to bring her back into the spotlight at the absolute perfect moment? Because now that Lambert's gone, a roster spot just opened up. And unless Indiana has some top secret deal with an overseas player nobody knows about, all the signs, all the math, point straight to Caitlin Clark.
I know Rudy from Coming Out the Podcast. Shout out to Rudy. Rudy did a whole entire video breaking down what Holly Rose said. Is Caitlin Clark coming back within the next week or so? I personally wouldn't bring her back against the Minnesota Lynx, but also, depending on the severity of Sophie Cunningham's injury, I might not bring her back, period, for the rest of the season. I might play if Sophie can't come back, if it's not serious, then maybe we are talking about Caitlin Clark coming back. I did say when she went down and this period of time started to get longer and longer and longer and longer, by the time she...
But hold up. WNBA fans aren't just taking this at face value. Oh no. People are already flooding social media, throwing out the craziest theories you can imagine. Some think this means the Fever are signing Kennedy Carter, which by the way makes zero sense because she just signed somewhere else. Others are convinced Indiana is just trying to cover up Sophie Cunningham's health issues. But when you strip away the noise and look at the actual facts, every single arrow points to one clear conclusion. Caitlin Clark's return is way closer than anyone expected. Seriously, let's be real. Kyra Lambert played 1 minute across 2 games. That's it. That's not a rotation player. Not even a key bench piece. She was a warm body for practice. The Fever gave her a shot. It didn't work out. And now they're moving on. Fine. But the timing, that's what's absolutely wild. They could have done this weeks ago. So why now? Why right before 2 of their biggest games of the entire season against the Minnesota Lynx?
And the question is, when? Are we really bringing her back against the Minnesota Lynx? Would that be the smartest idea? No, not really. Not really. Let's take a look. The Indiana Fever have been playing through the 2025 season under head coach Stephanie White. Indiana is led by Caitlin Clark, Aaliyah Boston, Kelsey Mitchell, Sophie Cunningham, and several other stars. While they have one of the best rosters in the league, they've been missing Clark. Clark has missed a majority of the season, currently working through a groin injury. The last time Clark was on the floor was a matchup against the Connecticut Sun on July 16th, while the Fever were on a 3.
We're a month into the season now, and let me tell you, the Lins are absolutely dominant. Sitting at the top of the league, steamrolling everyone with a 28-5 record. Indiana knows deep down they simply can't survive without their star power. Yeah, they've managed to claw their way back up to 6th in the standings, which is actually pretty impressive given how rough things looked early on. But if they seriously want to stay in playoff contention, they need Caitlin Clark on that floor. Period. Nobody else on that roster can impact a game the way she does. And the Fever's front office, oh, they know it.
Is a comment that Scott Agnes made on his YouTube channel. Scott Agnes was replying to someone else's comment who said, "Just can't wait until Cece is back. She's the most dynamic, electric player in the WNBA. Great job, Lexi." And then Scott Agnes replied and he said, "Have patience, at least several more weeks." Now, Scott Agnes is a beat reporter for the Indiana Fever. He has been covering them relentlessly all season, and we have gotten a lot of great information from Scott over the season. And I actually went to his YouTube channel and just kind of skimmed through the comments to see if there was anything else. There was one other reply where he was replying to someone and basically said, like, "You have to trust me or just trust me." It's up to viewers' discretion. It's up to the fans if they want to believe what he's saying, but several more weeks pretty much puts Caitlin Clark to coming back at the very end.
So, here's the question everyone's whispering. Is Indiana really about to throw Caitlin Clark back into action against the best team in the league? Or is this just some kind of smokex screen to keep us all hopeful while the medical staff drags us out a little longer? If you ask me, putting Clark back on the court against Minnesota right now feels completely reckless. That's pure baptism by fire. You're throwing her into the lion's den, hoping she comes out with 25 points and some highlight passes. The Fever have to be smarter than that, right? Well, then again, this is the Fever we're talking about. The same team where fans constantly wonder if Amber Cox and Stephanie White are even on the same page. Half the time it feels like one of them is managing for the distant future, while the other is desperate to win now. And honestly, that confusion shows up on the court. Cutting Lambert itself isn't a huge move, but when you link it to Clark's potential return, it suddenly looks like this wild cocktail of desperation mixed with hope, which, let's be real, is exactly what Indiana has been serving all season. And don't forget, Clark isn't some wide-eyed rookie anymore. She's in her second year. She's been through the chaos. She's seen how rough this league gets when every veteran decides your body is open season. She knows the physical toll, the media noise, the nonstop circus that follows her. Coming back now isn't just about being healthy. It's about proving she can carry a team through pressure that would crush most players. Of course, fans are latching on to every single clue. When the Fever jumped from 7 to 6 in the rankings, people immediately screamed, "Clark's coming back," as if the standings magically tell us what's happening behind the scenes. It's a nice thought, but honestly, Indiana's success without her has been shaky at best. If anything, those rankings just highlight how badly they need her return. And the schedule, brutal. Absolutely brutal. Minnesota twice in a row, then Seattle, then the Sparks, then the Valkyries, then Phoenix, Chicago, and Washington sprinkled in for good measure. If you're Clark, when you want to come back, you don't want your first game against Minnesota. That's a guaranteed headache. Seattle? Nope. They'll make it personal. So maybe the Sparks or the Valkyries feel more manageable. But here's the thing. The Fever might not wait that long, and that's the massive risk. The craziest part is while all this is happening, fans are glued to social media like they're checking the Fever's X account every 5 minutes, refreshing Scott Agnes' feed, blowing up every insider for scraps of information. And guess what? Nobody's saying a word. Not Chloe BBY, not Sophie Cunningham, not the coaches. So, which only makes it worse because the silence in this league means one of two things. Either they're hiding bad news or they're about to drop a total bombshell. And the WNBA needs that bombshell badly. This league is starving for storylines that move the needle. And Caitlin Clark is literally the only player right now who does it on a nightly basis. Love her or hate her, She gets people to watch. She sells tickets. She fills arenas. So, if Indiana is finally ready to bring her back, don't just expect a quiet press release. Expect fireworks. Expect highlight reels. Expect the league to milk this for every single ounce of attention they can get. But here's the cynical side of it. What if the Fever or just dangling hope to distract from their real problem? Cutting Lambert gives fans something to chew on. Sure, but it doesn't fix the team's lack of depth. It doesn't make up for Sophie Cunningham's shaky status. And it certainly doesn't solve the coaching confusion. All it does is open one roster spot. And if that spot isn't for Clark, then what's the point? Signing another bench warmer isn't going to change anything. And that's where the frustration really kicks in. Fans have been on this roller coaster too many times. They've seen the Fever mismanage rotations, botch player development, and completely fall apart in big moments. Now, with Clark's return hanging in the balance, every decision feels magnified. If Indiana handles this wrong, the backlash will be ugly. Now, here's the part that makes this whole thing hilariously obvious. The Indiana Fever finally start moving players around, making big decisions, and out of all the players they release, it's Kyra Lambert. No disrespect to Kira, but let's be honest, this move was never about her. She was basically just holding a seat at the table until Caitlin Clark was ready to reclaim it. That's the cold, hard truth of the WNBA. Half these roster moves are less about strategy and more about who do we have to cut to clear space for the star. And who's the star? Caitlin Clark. Oh, always Caitlin Clark. So now Fever fans are buzzing. WNBA Twitter is on fire. And every sports blog is suddenly acting like they've been following the Fever religiously and everyone's saying the exact same thing. Caitlin Clark's return is coming sooner than anyone expected. And honestly, if you've been paying attention, it makes perfect sense. Why else would Indiana make a move right now? This isn't the kind of roster shuffle you make in the middle of a random week, unless you're getting ready to bring back your franchise player. And that's the funny part. Everyone's attending this as some shocking announcement, but deep down everyone knows the league simply cannot afford to keep its biggest draw off the floor any longer. Ticket sales, they need Caitlin. TV ratings, they need Caitlin. Hype, they need Caitlin. Without her, the Fever are just another mid-tier WNBA team fighting for sixth place. With her, suddenly ESPN is sending camera crews. Every sports show has a Caitlin Clark segment, and merch sales are skyrocketing. Indiana knows exactly what's at stake, and so does the league. Let's also talk about timing, because that is absolutely critical here. The Fever's upcoming schedule is brutal. Minnesota twice, then Seattle, then the Sparks, then the Valkyries. That's a stretch that could completely sink their season if they don't have their star back. So, the front office looked at that and said, yeah, we better get Caitlin back on the floor now, because this lineup is going to eat us alive. And honestly, you can't blame them. Without Caitlin shooting and her incredible ability to draw fouls, this team doesn't stand a chance against the Lynx or the Storm. The Fever desperately need her presence, even if she's not 100% yet. Now, here's where it gets even juicier. This isn't just about basketball anymore. The Caitlin Clark saga has turned into this massive cultural circus where every single thing she does or doesn't do becomes a national headline. She misses a game. National news. She comes back. It's a historic return. Someone fouls her heart. Suddenly, we're talking federal investigations, and maybe even Trump getting involved. It's completely insane. Caitlin Clark isn't just a player anymore. She's a walking storyline, a ratings magnet, and apparently a political football, too. So, yeah, when Indiana makes a roster move like this, the ripple effect is absolutely massive. You got fans dissecting it like it's a Supreme Court ruling. You've got WNBA insiders scrambling to confirm whether the move was legitimate, because let's face it, half of them didn't even notice Kira Lambert was on the roster in the first place. And then you got the rest of the league watching closely, because Caitlin Clark's return changes every team in the WNBA has to adjust their strategy when she's on the floor. Suddenly, defenses collapse, spacing opens up, and role players start looking like stars just because she's drawing double teams. And if you think the Fever don't know that, You're seriously kidding yourself. This whole move screams desperation, mixed with pure calculation. They're not just trying to survive. They're trying to make a huge statement. They want to show the league, the fans, and even Caitlin herself that they're all in on this season. And honestly, they don't really have a choice. Indiana without Caitlin Clark is like Netflix without any shows. You can keep it running, but nobody's paying attention. Of course, there's always a possibility that Indiana is bluffing, that maybe this move isn't directly tied to Caitlin's return. But come on, how many times are we going to play that game? Every single decision this franchise makes revolves around Caitlin Clark. She's not just a centerpiece of the roster. She's a centerpiece of the league right now. And whether the Fever admit it or not, everything they do is about maximizing her impact. Now, let's not forget the fans in all this, because they're the real winners here. Fever fans have been absolutely starving for good news. And this is the kind of announcement that instantly reignites hope. They've been through years of mediocrity, and suddenly with Caitlin in town, there's finally something worth getting excited about. So, yeah, they're running wild with speculation. They're buying tickets in bulk, and they're already planning for a playoff run. Is it premature? Probably. But can you blame them? After watching this team struggle for so long, Caitlin Clark feels like the savior they've been waiting for. And that's why the WNBA itself isn't not because Indiana made a roster move, but because the ripple effects of Caitlin Clark's return are about to hit every corner of the league, every team, every player, every coach. They're all going to have to deal with it. The WNBA has been desperate for mainstream attention for years, and now they've got it. The problem is it all revolves around one player, and when one player has that much power, it makes the entire league look shake. So, while Indiana is busy patting itself on the back for making tough roster decisions, let's call it what it really is. A sign that Caitlin Clark is about to walk back into the spotlight. And when she does, the WNBA is going to milk it for absolutely everything it's worth. TV specials, highlight reels, endless debates on ESPN, it's all coming. And honestly, as much as it exposes how dependent the league has become on one player, you can't deny it's good business. So yeah, the Indiana Fever makes a huge announcement. But let's be real. The only announcement that truly matters is Caitlin Clark's return. And when that happens, it's not just the Fever who will feel the impact. The whole league was.